We'll go ahead and call to order the Stevensville Town Council meeting. Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2020. Call the roll.
Councilmember Devlin.
Here.
Councilmember Holcomb.
Here.
Councilmember Michelson.
Here.
Councilmember Vick.
Here.
Mayor Dewey.
All right, if you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have the flag there on Ms. Berthoud's camera. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible.
liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item on our agenda is for items rather that are not on tonight's agenda. As public comment worked for our public comment through our various channels, whether that be through the Dropbox out front, we are taking some phone messages here at email and our public comment form that's accessible via our website and the agenda. So those public comments are either being, if they come through the form, they're automatically distributed in real time to the town council. If you email them directly to the office, those are forwarded out as soon as we can get those forwarded out. And Ms. Berthoud is actively emailing those out to everybody right now on a couple of our email addresses. So I just ask council to be mindful of your email and be aware of those public comments flowing in. We will give you opportunity to review those comments throughout the meeting. Certainly if there's any vote that comes forward, you'll have a chance to review public comment called. So with that, it looks like a majority, while we are receiving a plethora of public comment, a majority of that, and in fact, not all of it, is related specifically to the agenda rather than items not on the agenda. So with that, we won't we're not going to review every individual piece of public comment that's received because we have an electronic record of it. Those electronic records will be part of the minutes when those minutes come forward for approval. On approval of minutes tonight on your agenda, we do not have minutes for your approval tonight. You will have a slew of minutes to approve at your next town council meeting. And that is, as Janelle is just into her second week on the job, she's still getting acquainted and getting some of those things prepared. So you can expect a set of minutes or a couple sets of minutes to come forward at the next meeting. We have approval of biweekly claims. Robert sent the claims out to the town council this afternoon. Slated to approve claims 16106 through 16164. Total amount is $411,000, $411,003.24.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Vick.
Hello,
You have a question, Bob, on the claims?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
On claim 16154 for $1,210 for Outers Business Solutions for annual copier access usage fees. Can I ask what that's for? Are we renting the copier or leasing it or?
No, so we own our contract includes a set amount of copies per year. If we exceed that amount of copies, we are charged for whatever the copies at that time. So I don't know exactly how much we exceeded our overage, but that overage is included in the annual maintenance contract.
Okay. One more question. I see where we paid MMIA insurance for our police vehicles and other vehicles. Are we paying for those vehicles that are supposed to be surplused out still? And may I ask when those will be, or should I wait for the police report?
Surplus vehicles will be surplused. Hopefully that process will take place towards the end of this month. I think the last week of the month is when we're scheduled to start rolling some of that out. We do have some additional surplus we want to bring forward to the town council. But all of our property is insured in one basically basket.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
On personal insurance. Okay, any other questions on the claims from council? On through your emails with Ms. Devlin, you're still muted. You care to vote?
I'm sorry. I'm having a really bad connection. I can hear hardly anything, so I'm trying to figure that out.
That's okay. I just got an alert on our end as well.
Okay. Well, I didn't even hear what you said. I'm sorry.
How do you vote on the claims?
Aye.
Okay. Devlin votes aye. Holcomb?
Aye.
Ms. Holcomb votes aye. Mr. Michelson?
Aye.
Michelson votes aye. Mr. Vick?
Aye.
Mr. Vick votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. This is your council meeting at the beginning of the month where you get to hear from the department heads on administrative happenings. Mr. Underwood, do you want to give a report on the airport? Okay, I'll mute my TV and my microphone.
Okay, can anybody hear me? Okay, up at the airport, project's was going rather well until they started working on the two aprons and they ran into a snag with the base underneath the old tarmac there. And so they had to bring out some testers. They tested it. We're in the end, bottom line is they had to get back with the FAA, and we're going to bring forward a change order to the project with the cost about upwards of $50,000 more. The FAA went out and found some money. The town itself the airport itself will be 10% match of the funds that needed. Considering we got everything we wanted last year from the Montana Aeronautics and the FAA, the airport's in good shape to pick up the cost of that 10% without much difficulty at all. And so that change order is in draft form right now. The contractor's looking at it for a price of what it will take to finish that up. And that should be coming back to council for approval, because we have to do the change order through council. And then the project will get going again. Right now, they're just kind of stalled up there. Other than that, we had the Forest Service here for 7 days on fire watch. About $350 a day is what they paid for use of the facilities, and they got reassigned a day down to Bozeman. But like the guy said, you never know, they may be back here next week when we get into the hundreds again. So other than that, any questions with the airport?
Thanks, Robert.
Okay, thanks, Robert. The building department report.
Sorry,
is-
can I ask a question real quick? I'm going through all these emails, and I had an email wondering if our meeting is being live streamed, because it's not being viewed. Hold on, the live meeting is not in the viewing window on the website.
if they click on that window, it'll take them to our Facebook, or excuse me, to our YouTube page, and the video should be there if it's not directly in the window
Okay, I'll let them know. Thank you.
for that window to update. But if they hit the window, it'll take them to our YouTube page where it's being streamed. Yep. Okay. Again, the building department report is in the council's packet. I will draw one item of relevance to your attention. The building inspector, Tim Netzley, has chosen to pursue other opportunities in his private business. And so he has given us his notice of resignation. And so we are actively recruiting a certified building inspector to fill his place. So otherwise, the building department finance report. We'll turn it back over to Robert to give you a rundown of finance.
Okay, I just started out with, we got in our tax evaluation last week, and it looks like we've gone up about $21,000 from last year in tax evaluation properties. And so I've done the mill sheet right now, and I'm just reviewing that. And so I just looks like we got a little bit more money than what we expected in our budget. And I'll get those numbers out to you once I get the final look at it. The town's doing well with the cash still. We still got about 3.4 million in the bank. That's been the constant since I've been here. It fluctuates up and down a little bit, but it's pretty much stays constant. Any questions? Oh, the CARES, okay. Yeah. Last time I mentioned about the CARES, we got the reimbursement of CARES. I'm still trying to track down the sheet. It said what they actually reimbursed us for versus what we put in. And so I do owe that out to you. Some of the stuff we put in, I'll give you an example. Any of the meetings and stuff that we had just among the staff and stuff, they didn't cover that cost of the wages, and I put all that in there. So most of what we didn't get reimbursed for were those meetings, because we had quite a few meetings I put together, and I'm just once I get their feedback, I'll be able to tell you exactly what it was. But the other thing we didn't get was some of the reimbursement for the fringe benefits for the police department and fire department. And now they sent out a letter to everybody saying they won't do the benefits, but they will still continue to pay for the salaries of fire and safety. So that's still a good deal. Other than that, anything else?
Hey, Robert?
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we get around a figure of $32,000 for a check from the CARES Act so far?
Yes. And that goes through April 4th. April, the end of April.
The end of April of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I've been trying to track down the exact amount that we have billed for and received for the CARES amount, and exactly what that money goes to, like whose wages is it covering, what items is it covering, what have we been reimbursed for. Do you think, I know you have to track down the sheet as you mentioned, but do you know approximately when we could get that information? I know I'm sure a lot of people have, but I've had several requests for that. So I just like to know a time frame when we could probably see something.
I can probably have that out to you by Wednesday. I know I know what we put in for and money we got, and I just have to reverse out what they told me we didn't get unless I get an email back from them. So it's pretty much okay.
So to recap on that, just for council's benefit, we are working on a mechanism where we can demonstrate to the council and to the public both how CARES funding is being spent for the town. We do have a spreadsheet that we submit to CARES that outlines in generic ways for certain categories how that is all done. So, or what we reimburse or are submitting for. But what they send back, they just basically send us a remittance that says, here's a check for money. They don't necessarily say what they did and didn't reimburse for on the Excel sheet. So that's what we're trying to reconcile, to know exactly what they scratched off that list. And we're working with local government bureau to do that. So once we have all that comprehensively pulled together, then we'll roll that out for council to digest, but also find a way to demonstrate that on our website so the public can see that as well. Okay, the fire department report is next. Chief Motley.
Okay, you guys should have a copy of our stats. Calls and runs for July should have been in the packet. And we had a total of 72 for July, 31 in town, 38 out in the district. 63 of those were medical responses, 7 fires and 2 motor vehicle accidents, crashes, for the total of 72. Brings us up to 381 for the year to date. We're 163 in the town and 205 in the district, and 13 mutual aid requests. Out of those 381, 280 are medical responses, 82 fires, and 19 vehicle crashes. So that's the stats. So what we're currently working on within the department is, since Colette is here doing a superb job for us, we're going back through making sure that all of our volunteers have on file a signed personnel policy copy and receipt of that, and they understand that. So we're going through the getting all that done. I think we have a couple outliers, Dempsey Vic, just throwing it out there. Burning is closed now in the valley. There's no open burning in the valley, within the valley. We did some phone training last month in July, and we did have an association board meeting, and relief board meeting was also held in the end of July. Coming up, we're doing a live structure fire burn. We've got a home donated to the department, or the district did. And so the district's doing a live structure burn. We've got 10 different crews coming from all of the surrounding neighbors and departments to participate in that as well. So that's going to happen on Saturday. And it is out on, I believe, South Kootenai. So there'll be a big plume, a big column up for a little while on that, but that's a controlled burn. Also, we are holding a fundraising Firefly nighttime golf tournament for the Fire Association. And that tournament is now sold out with an extra team in the waiting. And we've got great response and participation from the different community members and businesses and whatnot donating to that and helping us put that on. So that'll be a great fundraiser for us to help restock or bank, if you will, so we can have other projects come up so we can fund those and get those out. Other than that, we're continuing on. It's pretty much business as usual in the fire department and fire service. We finally have replenished our inventory on PPE, PPE being medical gloves and masks and those types of things for the new COVID requirements that we're operating under and our guidelines that we're operating under when we respond to medical calls. So we've been able to get some gloves back in, and we got some stock going there. So we're in a good position as far as that goes. Other than that, it's pretty much business as usual. Any questions?
Any questions for Chief?
Okay. Also, I'd like to just throw out there that I'm sure Brandon and Robert are both aware, we've got a couple requests out there to buy some budgeted items, some ply line and a few things like that. So we're looking forward to get those things done and taken care of as those wheels turn and those things get signed off and taken care of. So other than that, we're doing good. Thanks.
All right, Parks and Recreation, Bobby, go ahead.
All right. Let's see. So you got it in your packet, but I just want to touch on some pool information. We closed the pool July 25th this year due to a bunch of leakage and cracks. We were losing a ton of water. We've been working with HDR the last 10 days or so doing leak testing on the pool. We found out that the deep end over 5 days lost 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch a day at most. Fair amount of that was evaporation. We tested the kiddie pool though, just last night alone, that pool, we divided it from the main pool and it lost 28 inches of water overnight, and it was pretty cold last night. So we've kind of narrowed down where the issues are. So we're going to work moving forward with HDR to come up with the best repair plan for that. Lewis and Clark Park, remove fencing around the parking lot, planted some new flowers by the pool house, still sanitizing parks 3 times a day in our town, bathrooms more than that. River Park Trail, we've really done some work down there. We mowed the whole trail. I don't know if you all have been down there in the last year or so, but the trail was pretty gone and it's now back and it's pretty nice. We had a kids nature walk there yesterday and it was pretty fun. We had 5 kids come out. We have another one of those scheduled for the 19th and the 26th. Some other stuff coming up. Chief touched on the Firefly Golf Tournament. That's next weekend. And then on the 29th of August, the town's partnering with Fort Owen and St. Mary's Mission, and we're doing a Tourist in Your Own Town event. And then just today, I spoke with the library, and starting August 31st through September 8th, there will be a story walk on the bike path, which is a fun, interactive way to get kids and families outside to go enjoy the outdoors and read some books and just stuff in light of COVID. That's about it.
All right, any questions for Mr. Sunstein? Bobby, appreciate your update on the pool there.
Yeah.
Police Department, Chief Marvel.
Yes, I am going to leave my video off. I think there was too many people on the Wi-Fi at City Hall was causing issues, so I got off of that and got onto data on the cell phone here. So to not have any complications, I'm going to leave the video off. The reports in the packet, and we did get the second vehicle ordered. I still don't have a firm date on when we're going to receive those vehicles, just because we're at the mercy of the manufacturer, COVID issues, things like that. As far as I know, it's still December, but it could be January. I'm just kind of at their mercy, but they have been ordered. So since we don't currently have a police department clerk and we're recruiting for that position, a few of the projects I've been working on, especially the Stevensville Crime Watch, have been put on hold temporarily. We do have some Crime Watch applicants that are interested in helping, so that's great. I plan on getting those things back in line once we do have a clerk and we can start working together on those projects. Looking at getting that person hired first and then really focusing on the 4th officer, that should move along fairly quickly, hopefully. And the 3rd paragraph there in your report, I'm going to go ahead and change that, because actually today I had a conversation with the superintendent at the school concerning the SRO. With everything going on at the school and the uncertainty of how things are going to be at the school, they are not willing to step forward at this particular point to renegotiate the contract or have further discussion about that. That could change in the coming weeks or months. I don't know. But as it stands right now, they're just going to leave it as is, and we are not going to fill that SRO spot for now. Once we have a better idea of what the school services are going to look like, and students and so forth, I think we can have those conversations again. But again, right now, we're just going to remain in the holding pattern. We're going to focus on hiring the night officer, the 4th officer, and move forward with that. As far as the stats go, I did a little bit different format. We have the nature of the offense, or nature of the call rather, the area in which the call took place, and when it was reported. So if you look through there, there's a fair amount of consistency. We do have quite a few suspicious activity calls going on, suspicious circumstances. Those are pretty general as far as what types of calls those are. That's just somebody seeing something outside the norm, or a person in the area that is doing something that's suspicious, things like that. If you look through, there's 76 of them for July of 2020, and in 2019, the same period, we had 78 calls. So we're staying fairly consistent with our calls for service in that time frame. Is there any specific questions about anything I've got on the report?
Hey, James,
Yes.
this is nothing to do with the report. Do you have a time frame when those electronic speed signs on College are going to be here?
I'm going to defer to the mayor on that one. I'm not exactly sure. Brandon, is your mic on there?
Yeah, that's a public works function. They're the ones responsible for getting those installed. Those signs, the poles have gone in for those signs. We have 4 different poles set up for 2 different signs so that they can be moved around. It's the poles and the logistics of all that. It took us to get some concrete and all those things. Those are all set. We're set this week. So I would imagine the early part of next week, those will be installed in select areas for the remainder of summer break. And then you'll see those reinstalled over at the school.
Thank you.
The question, please. Chief Marble, do you know when, I know 40 hours were set aside to do a traffic assessment on College by 5th Street, that corner there, the 400 and 500 block. Do you know when you are going to be able to have time to start doing that assessment, or have you, or what does that look like?
I've kind of put that on hold. No, I mean, obviously we have staffing issues, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm I'm doing the job of the police clerk right now and my job, and we still need more officers. So I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm not saying it's not important, it's very important, but I can't tell you when we're going to be able to accomplish that. But what I can tell you is that there have been some things put in place on College in the troubled areas. I think, there's some plans moving forward to address some of the other areas of town, but particularly the striping, designating and marking crosswalks, having the movable signs in place. I've noticed on the times that I have been able to get out into those areas, specifically in the southern portion of College Street, those markings and the signage has helped tremendously. And I think moving forward, it's an excellent idea to do that in different places in the town to really kind of bring out the areas to say, yeah, this is an area to pay attention to. It catches your eye, So I think when we start really looking at how we're going to plan to address those areas, getting creative, looking at, street markings, looking at different signage and things like that, I think that's going to be a huge advantage. Again, that's another one of those projects that I really need to get on top of. But once again, I'm at the mercy of the situation.
Sure.
I've got some
Right.
investigations that are taking
That
priority.
striping, yeah,
Mhm.
so that striping and those signs are further down from where I'm talking about. And I actually have been discussing this and having this done since January. And that area, for some reason, was looked at before the area that I'm talking about. And we're having some pretty upset homeowners in that strip. That this has been something that has been being discussed since January. Still hasn't been in their part of the area. The park part, looking further down, has, but not 400 and 500 block, where there's that, kind of 3-way stop area. So I'm just I understand that we're short of staff and we're trying some other stuff, but that's not the area that I'm talking about, or the area that is been of concern for a very long time. So I'm just going to ask that we kind of maybe speed that up a little bit so we can appease some of these homeowners that have been having some issues.
Okay, yeah, Jamie, I can talk with the mayor about it and strategize a little bit better, get public streets and alleys involved too, because I know some of the issue is signage right there. It's extremely confusing. That fifth dog leg, that S curve intersection, it's always been an issue of contention. But I think we can do better with signage, markings, whatever we can do in that particular area to address those issues. So, yep, I'll make sure and get on top of that with the mayor and with Public Works and see what we can do better there. Okay,
Thank you very much.
you bet.
Any other questions for the chief?
I have a few questions. I've gotten several emails from this gentleman wanting to, if the police chief could comment on the animal noise issue on 725. And what was the problem? And is there a city ordinance that enforces animal problems and protects citizens? And I'll let you answer that, and then I'll go to the next email.
We're not going to entertain public comment during administrative reports. We never have. We have forwarded those comments specifically to the chief so that he can respond to that individual and give him the answers he needs.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'd frankly be here for a long time. So, yeah, as if comments come in for specific department heads, we'll make sure that those get over to those department heads. Any other questions from council specifically for the chief? Okay. The public works report is in your packet as well. George is not on the Zoom call tonight, but we'll give the council a chance to review that. It's been in your packet there. And he's highlighted the statistical information relevant to his department. Okay. As far as guests go, we do not have any in attendance at tonight's meeting. Correspondence is being delivered to council electronically and will be part of your minutes as a minute for council's consideration. And so we'll move straight into new business. Discussion decision, establish Stevensville. In your packet tonight, you have a council communication from the of what this may look like. This resulted from a conversation that was held during council comments at our last town council meeting, initiated by Ms. Devlin. Council at that time sought more information and asked that some sort of a communication be brought forward to kind of outline more details. And so we've done that for you in your packet, and that's available for the council as well as the public to view through our website if they choose to. So you can see there we highlighted 4 questions as generically as we could. We picked out identified 4 things that really council needed more information on to decide whether or not this was an appropriate endeavor to continue to consider. The administration is not proposed you adopt an ordinance or establish this board tonight. If the council chooses to go forward, we would then undertake those steps in formally establishing that. Council chooses not to, then we won't undertake those next steps. We'll just let the issue lie. But at the very least, given the discussion that happened at our previous meeting, I wanted you to at least have a chance to review the information we were able to find and track down and get that over to you. The conversation, it was initiated by Ms. Devlin at our last meeting, so I'd offer the floor to her if she has any remarks after reviewing the packet.
Oh, sure. My biggest is we've all received a lot of feedback on cost, and there's kind of 2 parts that I wanted to bring up. To have a board doesn't cost us anything. A board is volunteers. We have several of those. So there's not a cost involved in that. My biggest fear is that we don't have a plan. We don't have a plan moving forward, just in the near term, right? We don't have a plan for COVID. What if we don't have a breakout? What does our town look like then? What if we do have a breakout? What does our town look like then? There is no feedback. I kind of put this to the test. People have said that you weren't getting great response from the Ravalli County Department in feedback as far as cases or where they were or kind of what it's like moving forward or stepping back or where we were going. And so I reached out and I haven't had any callbacks on what a plan.
We lost Ms. Devlin there. She's back.
I apologize. You guys. My service is really wonky. So I was trying to reach out to see what does the future look like? What are plans that are in place for masks, no masks, outbreaks, no outbreaks? And I have received zero feedback. So it would be nice. I don't think any of us are educated in this area of creating a plan for our community, for Stevensville as a whole, to move forward. So I really think that it would be important at the very least that we just have a board that we can rely upon that would make recommendations rather than going through. Ravalli County Health Department does a great job. I'm not putting them down, but we are not getting the communication that we need, that frankly, our community wants answers. We can't provide them those answers. If we have our own board, my envision would be that they would work with Ravalli County, or they would at least be educated enough that they can say, look, here's 7 active cases right now. This is what we recommend that you look at. Or we have, God forbid, we have 30, 50, 100 cases. This is what it looks like. I'm not proposing that we have a board so we can spend more money. I'm proposing that we have a board so that we have education. That is something we're lacking. We're lacking education. We're lacking a resource partner in the ability to get more education. And I furthermore would entertain maybe, and I don't know how you feel about this, Mr. Vic, I'm not trying to step on your toes here, but if we did a counterpart, and this may be a board that works with the Climate Control Board that has already been approved, but hasn't moved forward with having an actual board in place. So that's kind of my initial statement. I don't see there's any harm in trying to move forward with a board. It's not really stepping on any toes. Like I said, it's an education piece.
At all. Any takers?
I'm sorry, are you talking? My service is coming and going.
That's okay, Jamie.
Hello, Brandon. Hello.
Go ahead.
Oh, Brandon. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Hey, Brandon, I have some people here. There's some concerned citizens. There's even some business owners here. They would like to, if they could come sit down here and speak what they want to say after the council has its say, would that be okay?
I don't think that would be fair to the rest of the population who has to provide public.
Convenient.
Hello?
I think that's the best way to move forward.
I have close to 30 people here.
If I would have known that we could invite people to this meeting, I would have invited a whole lot more people. I was aware that we were doing it via live and that people could email in their thoughts ahead of time. I didn't realize that we could have a party at our house and
Yes.
invite people to participate. Did I misunderstand this process?
No, you didn't, Ms. Devlin. We have a plan in place for how we receive public comment during virtual meetings. And it's my intent to live into that plan and follow it.
So can I read and, because I have an email that this person would like to have their feelings on record. So am I not allowed to read that?
We will, all of these comments that we're receiving electronically will be part of the record. They will be part of the minutes, and they're
But they are not a part of the discussion.
Ms. Holcomb, I think if you want to speak to specific comments, I think that that's entirely appropriate. I don't have any problem with that. But we've all received, and we're all receiving simultaneously through the website.
You all can listen simultaneously too.
So that's where I'll leave that, Robin.
You're bringing something up. You're bringing something up that affects everybody in this town. You're dividing us more and more, and it's a bunch of bullshit. If you want to do something like this to our town,
I'm going to remove Mr. Michelson from the
you would have a big gym. We'll space ourselves 6 feet apart, and then we'll talk to you. This is bullshit. You know it's bullshit. I don't know.
Mr. Michelson has been removed from the meeting. We're not going to tolerate that type of thing. That wasn't acceptable. I'm not going to tolerate it, you guys. I'm sorry. I realize Mr. Michelson is a representative of the community and he has a voice in the matter, but frankly, in this very moment, I feel like he's abused that. I'll return my decision to remove him from the meeting. I'll entertain that. Otherwise, I'll let you continue with the conversation. My computer's frozen. Or okay.
So are we making a motion on this? I mean, so I guess I'm not understanding what we're doing on this.
It's this.
I think it may be best to lay on the table for right now. Let's see. I personally think it might be best to see what the county does as far as their with public health and with Dr. Calderwood leaving, and see what new leadership they get coming in. Their new leadership may be more open to working with the town.
Okay. If you just want to jump out, you can. Yeah. Hold up a little bit. Okay. All right. Yeah, you see it. Okay. So excuse us, folks. We're just dealing with some internet challenges here as well. So Mr. Vick has suggested that maybe this item be tabled until I'm gonna just bring up Ms. Devlin on the phone here, because it looks like she's having challenges. I can just put you on speakerphone. Will that work? Yeah, we can see you. And if you want to turn your video off, you can, if that'll save your bandwidth. But I'll just put you on speaker on myself here. Okay, we do have Ms. Devlin here on the phone. So, and there's a little bit of feedback, but we'll work with that. Oh. All right. So, okay, Mr. Vick has indicated we just table the item. Jamie, if you wouldn't mind turning your sound off on your Zoom feed. There we go. And then maybe you can still hear us through the speakerphone. Bear with us, folks. All right.
No, I don't. I can't hear anything either.
Can you hear me on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. As long as we don't hear any feedback, we're all right. Okay, so again, last time, Mr. Vixen suggested that we table the item and then see how public health reorganizes with the resignation of their public health officer and then reevaluate at a later date. I'd be curious to hear from the rest of the council to know if there's a specific date you want to set in the horizon or how you want to proceed.
Why don't we, I mean, my opinion would be what if we table it for 30 days? That'd be shortly after school starts and kind of see where we're at.
Okay. So in that interest, we could table this to the September 10th meeting. Okay. Do I hear a motion to table this item to the September 10th meeting?
I'll make a motion to table to September 10th.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion from council? All right, there is public comment for you to review, and Ms. Berthoud's working diligently to check the other avenues, making sure that you guys get all of that public comment that we are receiving. It is proving to be an effective means of gathering comment, so we are receiving quite a bit of it. Is there any further council comment then on tabling? All right, hearing none, I will call for the vote. Councilmember Devlin?
Aye.
Devlin votes aye. Councilmember Holcomb?
No.
Holcomb votes no. Councilmember Vick?
Aye.
Vick votes aye. Motion passes 2-1. Okay. That wraps up that that item. We will revisit this on September 10th and have probably more information then from county's public health department. The next item on the agenda then is new business item B, discussion decision use of face coverings in public settings to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Everyone who proposed the item.
Can you pick up your phone really quick, please?
Yep, just a minute. Go ahead. Okay, no problem. All right, Ms. Devlin needed to take a urgent phone call. Knowing the intent behind, because right now we're officially without a quorum, but in the spirit of waiting for Ms. Devlin to return from her phone call, mandate under this agenda item. I know many people had a concern that maybe that's what we were proposing. That is not the case. Ms. Devlin wanted to more or less have a open conversation with the town council and the city's leadership about masks and the use in the community, whether additional measures need to be, excuse me, there's Ms. Devlin there. Okay, thanks, Jamie. You're back on speakerphone. Jamie, I was speaking to kind of the intent behind this item as I understand it from my conversations with you, in that you were more or less hoping for an open conversation with the town council and town's leadership in terms of the current mask mandates that are in place by the governor's office. And if there were any other steps the town could take, or if there were any other things that you wanted to address specifically to face coverings, I think you were more as a community and not necessarily headed in the direction of implementing a mandate.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, exactly right.
So I can provide some information in terms of what we received from public health, albeit brief, and it was outlined in their press release yesterday. As of yesterday, we had been under a mask requirement in Ravalli County because we've had more than 4 cases. We've been under that mask mandate or requirement rather, for 28 days. And over that 28 days, they can note that that's that's 2 incubation cycles of COVID-19. And they have noted a decrease in cases since the mask requirement went into effect. As of today, both yesterday and today, no new cases were identified in Ravalli County. And as of 4 o'clock today, we are down to 6 cases in the county. So it's an encouraging sign. I wanted to share that information with you that came to us through a press release. But other than that, I'll let Ms. Devlin, of course, speak to the item.
Sure.
It's her agenda.
So I'm in no way, shape, or form suggesting that everybody wear masks or nobody wear masks, or I'm actually pretty neutral on that whole topic. I'm not sure that it's our place to even mandate something like that at this point. But I feel and I've heard that it's very divided. People are very strongly opinionated on one end and strongly opinionated on the other end. My hope, because we do filter a lot of these conversations on a lot of these questions, my hope would be that when we receive these questions, when we have people's concerns on both sides, that A, we are able to remain neutral, and B, that we have something that we can say rather than, oh, thanks for the call. I'm, sorry that I can't help you, right? Sometimes it's just a voice. Sometimes it's just an education piece, or sometimes they want us to do something and act. So I guess I just wanted to see what can we come together with so that, of course, both sides cannot have it all their way, right? We have to have a compromise and meet in the middle somewhere. And I'm just kind of wondering if there is a place that we can meet in the middle on this and what it would look like. Again, it's just discussion. It's not really, I'm not looking for a vote. I'm not looking for a mandate by any means. I'm looking for a way that we can meet in the middle and maybe appease 80% instead of 50%, right, of our community.
Any other council members have any feedback? Mr. Vick?
As I've done a lot of thinking over the last couple of weeks when it comes to masks. I think it's no question. I think everyone here has figured out that I am very much so pro-mask. However, people do have a right to not wear masks. People have a right to wear masks. People have a right to lick rats, and they have a right to not lick rats. My personal stance is if, the governor has his mandate and we may or may not have, meet the standards where everyone's supposed to wear a mask and whatnot. But the thing is I have a right to take my business to places that are pro-mask if I choose to. So does every other person in this town. And if I do end up going into one of our businesses that is not pro-mask, I accept a risk of possibly contracting COVID-19. And there are some businesses that I do frequent that do not have that are not pro-mask. But the thing is, and looking at the majority of the public comment that I've heard over the last week, I mean, I'm glad that we're just doing a discussion here. I don't think Stevensville as a local government should try to enforce a mask mandate, being that the governor has already issued one.
Not my intent. By no means. Like I said, I'm just hoping that we can have a discussion where we can meet in the middle and basically have something to tell people when they're, coming apart on the phone or through email with a huge, this is not an easy discussion to have with somebody. People are either extremely for masks or they're extremely not for masks. And somehow we have to be able to have a conversation to get to that. Asking for a decision, or if I'm not even asking that we instill a mask mandate. I'm just asking for us to come together for a neutral, like, here's the best that we have. What is that? What is our best right now? Because right now we're saying, yeah, I'm sorry, go, yeah, if you don't like it, write the governor.
I think on a neutral stance, as far as the town's concerned, that's really the best direction to go, is to say, it's something that's out of our hands. It has to do with the governor's office. And if you don't agree with the mask mandate, then you need to contact the governor's office and the state legislature.
And I think I have to agree with that, because we can't just.
Well, Whitefish.
Just a minute, folks. We have two folks talking. Jamie, I'm going to let you finish your thought and then call on Robin.
Okay. So Whitefish instilled their own ordinance, right? We have towns that have instilled their own ordinances that I am becoming aware of through people in our community. So when they come out, I can't turn around and say, oh, yeah, you're right, they did it, but please go ahead and write the governor. That's not a fair answer. I hear what you're saying, and there are sometimes where that conversation is the direction that you need to go, but there's also a time when that's not. And I guess
Okay, Robin, go ahead.
I guess I'm gonna have to agree with what Councilmember Dempsey was saying, that I don't know how you can even come in the middle. I have heard more from people that do not want to wear the mask. So I can't see us forcing it, because I'm one of them that does not want to wear a mask because I can't breathe in it. And I don't think we should be forcing people to wear a mask. So I think if they have an issue with it, they need to be contacting our governor.
so. Okay, and I agree. I agree. What would the answer be then? I guess if they say, well, why aren't you guys creating your own ordinance to enforce masks? I can't tell them to go ahead and call the governor, right? Because that's our town. That's something that we as a council, and we can do that. So what I guess I'm asking, what do you want our stance to be? Do you want us to just say, well, that's not something that we're considering at this time? Or, thanks for your input. What do we say? At some point, we can't refer them to the governor. This isn't a governor issue.
I do agree that, in the end, I do believe that this definitely should have been a local government issue and not something from the governor's office, because Montana is so vast, and, we have some counties that maybe only have 10 people in them, and when you have 4 people that have the virus actively, you're losing out on that's almost the entire county. So now the entire county has to wear masks. But my stance on this, since the governor has already made his mandate, that's really the only direction that we can really point people to. is to the governor's office or even to the Ravalli County Public Health.
Well, and then you come to the, because Ravalli County isn't gonna, already said that they weren't gonna enforce it. So, I think the best way is to just direct them to the governor of Montana's website and his issued directive.
I understand that, but so is our stance that we are not going to participate in this discussion with our community? Other communities. I don't have an answer for that. So I guess I just need your feedback on, there's sometimes where, yes, it's appropriate to direct them to the governor, or it's appropriate to direct them to Ravalli Public Health, but there are instances where that's not appropriate. When they come to concern as to what is our stance and why are we not doing something one way or the other, when we could create an ordinance, we could vote on it, and we could implement it, right? So what's our stance, you guys? What is our conversation? So that people listening know moving forward, and when we receive these kind of discussions or conversations or questions, we can't just say, go talk to the governor. This isn't a governor issue. This is in our town, right? So
Okay. So I guess to recap where we're at right now, Ms. Devlin is basically asking, should or can the town council as a body take a position on masks being used as a tool, or face coverings being used as a tool to limit the spread of COVID-19 in our community. It doesn't sound like she's asking the town council to weigh as to whether or not that would be enforced, or that a mandate or a requirement would be enforced, or that we're going to back the governor or not. I think it's more or less a conversation about should the town council be encouraging its citizens one way or another, or is it right. Maybe it's a, and what I'm hearing from the community is that maybe a reasonable approach is to say, look, wearing a mask is an effective way to limit the spread. It's a tool to limit the spread of COVID-19, just like washing your hands, keeping your hands out of your face, and a number of other measures. If we couple that and with the other measures, we're much more successful in limiting the spread and an outbreak in our community. And if we can trade that off where if you don't want to wear a mask, simply just social distance from other people where you can, then maybe that, that makes everyone happy, so that those who choose not to wear a mask have a way to still participate in the conversation, and those who choose to wear masks, feel that they've also had a seat at the table, and there's a happy medium there for the community. So I think to recap that, Ms. Devlin's asking, does the town council desire to take a stance or a position or give some sort of issuance of recommendation to this community? Is it something you care to maybe continue on as an ongoing conversation? Or do you just not care to take a position at all? I think that's kind of what Ms. Devlin's after this evening. And if council, I'll just say, you can do this a variety of ways. You can just move on with the conversation tonight if you want. You could make a motion to take a stance. You could designate one of your own to draft a letter that the rest of the council needs to review before it's published to the community, saying, we as the town council have this advice to lend to the community on the subject. you have lots of different avenues at your disposal, or you can just table this to another meeting and have more of a conversation if you choose to. I just wanted you to be informed of your options.
I think it's best if each council person takes a stance on an individual rather than as a whole. Such as I know that myself and Miss Devlin are both very much pro-mask. And as Robin has stated, she's not, and I don't really know where Bob sits on this, but I think it's best if we take an individual stance on this and rather than as a whole.
I agree. Because I'm not gonna condemn someone if they want to wear masks, and I'm not gonna condemn someone if they don't want to wear masks. I believe it has to be upon that individual person.
I appreciate both your feedback. Thank you.
Very good. Jamie, does that satisfy your the need for your conversation there?
Yep, I think
Okay.
that works.
Well, with that, then that concludes the business portion of our agenda. The executive report, of course, you've heard from the department heads tonight on an array of activity that's going on within the organization. They're getting a lot of good work done this summer and making a positive impact, and for that I'm very proud. I apologize if over the last 20 minutes I've appeared to be distracted. The 30 or so people who were at Mr. Michelson's house have come to City Hall and are causing a decent ruckus out front. And so while that's being handled by law enforcement, of course, I am at the office right now. It's just easier for me to Zoom from here than at home. And my window's right here in front of the parking lot. So for that, I apologize. I do want to speak to it. I feel compelled to, and forgive me because I am shooting off the hip to a degree. As I just stated, I'm extremely proud of this organization and its accomplishments this summer and even over the recent history. I can't say the same for that faction of our community. I realize that they feel very passionate about an issue. We are all very passionate about many issues. There's a time and a place and a way to express yourselves. And the display we saw tonight was not that. And I continue to find myself saying this, that it doesn't speak to the character of this community. And as I repeat myself and continue to say that maybe on a daily basis when these incidents happen, it causes me to pause and really ponder, what does the character of this community really look like? What do we want it to look like? Because I feel like in the era of 2020, as it's been what it has been, maybe we're in a position to redefine that. Maybe we need to do a better job of defining what the character of this community truly is. And so I just encourage those of you out there who are communicating with us through the avenues we've provided, I just, continue to let yourselves be heard in the way you're doing so respectfully. I realize that this is challenging. These virtual meetings are an incredible challenge. Just right down to the lack of good internet speed in this community, that in itself is frustrating. And so I'll continue to ask the community to be extremely patient with us as we continue to try to, keep ourselves safe and you safe and all of those things that go with virtual meetings. It's hard. It's hard on all of us. It's hard on our citizens. It's hard on our staff. And it's hard on us as elected officials. Okay, we're put in an impossible position. I will say, you will you will probably not be surprised by the amount of public comment. In fact, I think this virtual meeting alone has probably produced more public comment than a handful of city council meetings in person have in some history. So we have a lot of public comment that will be included in the packet for the minute. Everyone can read that public comment. We are not hiding anything, but we have to have a system in place and a plan in place for how information is disseminated and considered. And, in the interest of all of our times, it just isn't feasible to read every last email and public comment form that comes in. And that's just the reality of the situation. As much as I love to hear from our constituents, that's the system that we have to go by. So we're going to continue to critique this. My hope is that as cases continue to decrease, that maybe in September we can continue to do our in-person meetings. And my hope is that when those in-person meetings continue, that there's a level of peace in our community, that we don't see the displays of disrespect that we're seeing now, and that maybe we can find a way to unify rather than divide. And with that, I'll turn it over to council comments. Mr. Vick.
I just want to go back and say again, I think, like I was saying during our discussion earlier, the entire community knows that I'm pro-mask and knows that I will continue to promote the use of masks. However, with how our people are here in Stevensville, people feel like it may be an invasion of their rights. If the local government did enforce a mask mandate, they feel like it's an invasion of their rights that the governor's done that. I personally do not feel that way. However, I do want to say that social distancing has been going very well in town, at all of our restaurants and all of our bars and places of business, and I'm very thrilled to see that. And and I am glad to see that the spread in Ravalli County is a lot slower than what it is in the rest of the state. And it's probably because as those of us that live here in the Bitterroot we're pretty much social distancing champions. But lastly, I just want to say that I hope that we can pull through this. Hopefully we'll be able to be in person meetings again soon. And everyone have a good couple of weeks.
Any other council comments? Okay. Are there any board reports to go over tonight? I don't know as though any boards have met.
Just the park board met briefly just to discuss some design aspects of a potential splash deck that the Civic Club is working on. That was about all we touched on in that, but just to let you all know that happened.
Great, thanks, Bobby.
Yep.
All right, with that, it's 8:15. I'll leave you to your evening and we'll adjourn the meeting. Thanks everyone for your participation tonight. I appreciate it.